Hey guys, Matt here. This is my review of Wonka. This movie is directed by Paul King, who previously directed Paddington and Paddington 2. This movie stars Timothy Chalamet, Olivia Colman, Keegan-Michael Key, with Hugh Grant. The plot of this movie tells the story of a young Willy Wonka who wants to make the world's best chocolate confection so he can please the masses all around the world, but he has to go up against three corporate candy makers. Now, going into this movie, when I found out they were making a Willy Wonka prequel, I was not really excited. I wanted to see what story they would tell with this type of character, but I wasn't going to rush out to see it because the character of Willy Wonka was a mystery. There was stuff there that we were supposed to discover while watching Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The story of Willy Wonka wasn't really something we had to be told, a lot like the character of Cruella de Vil and Han Solo, which I'll get to in a moment. But I heard that Timothy Chalamet was going to be the main character. He's been in a couple movies as of late, so I was like, I'm curious what they do with this. And then when I discovered that Paul King, the director of Paddington 2, was in charge, I'm like, alright, this is going to be charming and heartwarming and very colorful and a movie for kids. So having seen the movie, I was right. It was just that. It was a whole lot of heart and not a whole lot of substance in this movie. Timothy Chalamet as Willy Wonka, he's very hopeful. He's very witty, very clever, very positive. Rarely did we see this character in any sort of anger or sadness. We did see him in a couple sad moments, but I'll get to that in a little bit. He was just very whimsical, very positive, very upbeat. The opening song is him, having all these dreams in his head and having this money in his pocket. And yet, because of his good-hearted nature, he ended up with a little bit of money by the end of the song. And his character was always very, hey, if there's a bump in the road or if there's something in my way, I'm just going to go around it. That's the kind of character I am. Or what? You have a trouble with something? I'm going to help you out because I'm a problem solver. Because that's just who I am. He just never really showed any other emotion except for, hey, we have a problem? Okay, here's something that I have that can fix it. He was a lot like Newt Scamander in the Fantastic Beasts movie, where it was his, bright personality, his optimism, and his briefcase full of wonderful, intricate, scientific, silly things that would get them out of a jam. And that was one thing that I was kind of like, with this movie. But you forget, the director of Paddington 2 made this movie, so it's going to be upbeat, whimsical, positive, and for kids. Don't forget that. And he goes up against these three corporate guys. One of them is Slugworth, and these two other corporate guys that are like super, super rich that own these chocolate factories, these candy companies that are all corporate. They're very straight-laced, business, suit and tie. They're all like, oh, these people are going to buy our chocolate. Ooh, they're very the opposite of Willy Wonka. So they're the bad guys in this movie. And then you get Olivia Colman as this woman who owns this hotel with this other man, very much like, what are they called? The innkeepers in Les Miserables. Same type of thing, where they get people in, they kind of con them out of all their money, and then they pretty much own them. Same thing. That's like the darkest part of this story, because you had to have some sort of evil, or not evil, but just, people that are bad-natured to go up against Willy Wonka's positive nature. But Keegan-Michael Key is in this as the cop who's hired by the businessmen to kind of keep the riffraff and Willy Wonka from achieving his goal. He's funny, he's a character actor, he's good in this. Hugh Grant as one of the Oompa Loompas, he was nice. He was one of the bright spots in this movie. So, this movie was just very upbeat, very Fantastic Beasts, where all these inventions, creations, all these, side characters that don't appear to be very bright, but just kind of follow Wonka's lead all the time and don't really have a personality of their own. It's that kind of movie. Like Paddington, where the main character is like the central star. Therefore, all the side characters kind of revolve around him and his positivity and his heart and his him being genuine, which is not a bad thing, but it takes the tone and totally changes it from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The character of Willy Wonka was a mystery in that movie, and he was an adult man. Here, it tries to take that, and it really doesn't do anything with it. It just focuses on his goal to make the best chocolate, and that's it. By the end of this movie, Wonka, you still have questions. You're like, okay, so he's the kid Willy Wonka. How does he become the man Willy Wonka? This movie suffers from the same problem that I had with Cruella and Solo, A Star Wars Story, where it took all of the elements that you familiarize with this character, his friends, the things he does, the habits, the trips he goes on, the clothes he wears, the things he uses, and it gives it all to you in one movie, in one short time span. It doesn't leave you any mystery or any answers as to, hey, how does this happen? Or how does he meet this person? Or how does this become this? They don't do that here. They're like, oh, okay, so we're going to give him his classic look, his Oompa Loompa, this, that, and the other, all in this movie. So they give it all to you in this one, and then by the time you were to watch Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, everything doesn't line up. Some of the sayings are there, which are nice. Some of the characters are there, but some things don't add up, and that's the problem with origin stories like this, is it expects you to believe that this character in point A becomes this person later on, and it doesn't exactly line up in this movie. So is this a good, lighthearted Willy Wonka movie? I mean, it's a Wonka movie in name, but that's it. Not in spirit, because it's vastly different. And just like Paddington 2, we get a story arc where Wonka, the only time he shows emotion is when he's thinking fondly of his dear mother. Just like in Paddington 2. When he reflects on his mom and how she taught him certain values and certain things that he learns, carries on, and pays forward, those moments are nice. But not at all does Willy Wonka mention his childhood in the Gene Wilder movie. In the Johnny Depp movie, yeah, but that's a different story altogether. So, because this movie was fun and charming and full of heart, but a Wonka movie only in name, and you don't really believe that Timothée Chalamet would grow up, own this factory, and become the Gene Wilder Willy Wonka, I'm going to give Wonka a C. It's bright colored, it makes you feel good, but as an origin story, it didn't work.